Hello, Senior Stoner fans. It's the real Senior Stoner back at you for your Herbo, Hydrafuge, and Source Bolt Diamond Dab of the Day. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Today is Saturday. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Send a like, join the family, and I respond to all those nice comments. Have you ever experienced being blamed for everything? Things you never did, things you never thought of, but it's your fault. How do you cope with being blamed for something you didn't do? Let's discuss. Well, chronic blaming is a form of emotional abuse. What do you think of that? And people who are victim to it feel very helpless over the blamer. Most blamers see nothing wrong in blaming others because things go wrong in their own lives, therefore someone else is always to blame. Nothing is ever the blamer's fault. They tend to be irrational, therefore you can't reason with them. By golly, maybe don't even try. Maybe it's best to avoid this type of personality, narcissistic, as the disorder includes being negative, which can have a destructive effect on people. Blamers are unhappy people. Unfortunately, I've had people in my life who fit this type of personality. It has taken me a lifetime, truly, to recognize that these people had disorders, not me. I was a victim because I bought into the belief system. I accepted criticism and verbal abuse as a regular thing. I felt sorry for the people blaming me because I figured I must have done stuff wrong. I found myself walking on eggshells with every conversation in my life. Negative people seem to blame others for their own mess. Don't become a victim of a negative personality. It can literally ruin your life, especially if you and your accuser are related or are close friends. You may even be better off by choosing to disassociate yourself with that toxic relationship. If you find you can't do that, at least set up boundaries to protect yourself. And remember, the truth will always set you free. At one time or another, most of us are blamed for something we didn't do. It feels unjust, it feels unfair, and it is. Even though we may be completely guiltless, we still feel guilty in those situations. So, here's what hopefully we learn through this discussion. It's about the accuser and not about you being blamed. All that matters is the truth. It's being a victim of a narcissistic personality when you're blamed for everything. And knowledge is power when dealing with negative personalities. You can identify a blamer pretty clearly. Narcissistic personality disorder criteria apply to most of them, and common body language of liars applies to most of them as well. Remember, the accusation is a reflection of the accuser, not you. I was young when this started happening, so I didn't understand. But I'm going to give everybody the benefit of the school of hard knocks I went to school with about blame. Being blamed for something you're innocent of hurts. Truth is the one thing that survives after all time and recriminations have passed. Anyone who accuses us of improper behavior and lies shouldn't even be worried about. Your accuser has personal issues that have absolutely nothing to do with you. At the time you're being blamed, knowing this may help. Not a lot, but even so, it helps. Often, jealousy, insecurity, and low self-esteem course through the liar and blamer's veins. The only way they can feel their own importance is to gossip viciously about other people, bringing them down so that they themselves can feel better about who they are. To intentionally accuse someone of doing something they know is a lie gives the liar a feeling of importance. Maybe we should feel sorry for them, because they're probably miserable individuals who can't find any joy within. They're probably unable to feel good themselves, so they continue the endless road of slum and slime as they pass judgment and make up lies about other people. You see, you don't need to prove your innocence in this life. You do not need to prove your innocence to anyone if you are indeed innocent. You already know in your heart that you have clean hands. And this is all that matters. Take it from me. It is not necessary to prove to anyone you're not guilty. Don't even fuel the evil fire by giving the lies power. Is it easy to do this? No, it isn't. In fact, it's hard. It maybe could be classified as extremely hard. But if you can grow to the level, it will help you feel peace as you struggle through those difficult times. If you have patience, both with yourself and your accuser, the truth will eventually be known, and it is truth that will set you free. You've got to find ways, we do, to deal with the blamers, because help's on the way. We're going to feel relieved as we learn how to deal and cope with destructive behavior. When I finally learned that I had been manipulated all my life to believe that I was the one who was wrong, I was always the one who was bad, it was always my fault, I had always done something, it armored me like a bulletproof vest, because the toxic blame bounces right off of you. The more aware you are, the better, and you'll be able to avoid those types of relationships and save your self-esteem. Maybe begin to practice not taking anything personally, because when you do, you set yourself up to suffer. When we really see people for who they are without taking it personally, we can never be hurt. Maybe the best way to protect ourselves from a blamer is to establish an impenetrable boundary between what we know about ourselves and what this other person needs to believe about us. We need to be able to identify a blamer. They're pessimists. That's a sure sign of a blamer. And there's often no talking a blamer out of its negative thoughts. They make excuses, always making excuses for their own thoughts. They will rarely take any responsibility for their behavior. They pass the blame. Blamers tend to pass the blame on to someone else while never taking any responsibility. They're quick-tempered. Being quick-tempered is another sign to watch for. Blamers are known for short fuses. Well, a blamer also insists on credit for being right. They take credit, even though they're wrong. They love to shout, "I told you so." Blamers are betrayers. Remember this. Being trustworthy is not a part of a blamer's characteristic. They're typically backstabbers, so be very careful. If you don't want something you say to be repeated, then don't say it around a blamer. And a blamer's middle name is envy. Anytime you get something nice, they get angry and envious. It includes any success you might have. When you are sick in pain, the blamer is happy. We've got to beware of people who automatically assume the fault is yours. After all, it could never be their fault. These people also love to play mind games. They rehearse their entire dialogue so they'll be prepared for your next conversation. It's a full-time job for them to be innocent of everything. Another thing that happens to a blamer is they become narcissistic. That's right. They have a lot of signs of narcissistic personality disorder. Well, extreme selfishness is really the red flag for identifying narcissism. They're preoccupied, these people, with fantasies of power, success and brilliance, and of course, a high sense of entitlement. Quite defensive and arrogant. They're never going to be wrong. You will never be able to reason with them. The best defense with these types of people is no defense. Learn to ignore the narcissist completely. Now, we blame ourselves for things, okay? There are certain things that promote self-blame, guilt from childhood experiences, or if you're a blamer in adulthood and you can't trace it back to your childhood, guess what? You've had a difficult adulthood, and those experiences are shaping you into self-blaming yourself. You see, it's time. That is right. Now is the time for us to embrace any techniques we need to remember to clear the people of the world that are blamers. Remember not to bring our guilt with us from childhood, so we become self-blamers. We have an opportunity to set things straight. That's right. We can do it again, believe it or not. It doesn't happen too often that you can go around again and set things straight. Well, you know what? You can, because we live in a cyclical world, and every time you go around, it's like a Ferris wheel. Two things happen when you cross over the top: hope and opportunity. So I hope that all of us here have the opportunity to put what we've talked about today to use. This has been the Real Senior Stoner, talking about how the blamers of the world need to chill out, and we need to stop listening to them. Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is the Real Senior Stoner. Have a great day out there, everybody. Cheers. Here we go. The coolest dappery. You don't have to touch. You don't have to touch your mouth to it. And it's strong as hell. The Herbo and the Source Bowl. Thanks for joining me, everybody. You know what to do. Cheers.